All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. You are listening to WRUULP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. This is the Adam Messer Show, and I'm your host, Adam Messer. And my special guest today is a gentleman named Jay Harris, who is a musician. Welcome, Jay. Thank you so much for being here with us on the show today.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, and you've got a new single out called "Falling Tonight," right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Awesome. Okay, so everybody tuning in, I met Jay a couple years back, just random, like when I was doing photography. I was like, hey, man, maybe we could get together for like a shoot sometime. And he and we've stayed in touch online, and he's launched this new music career. So we're gonna play his song "Falling Tonight," and then we're going to listen, we're going to talk about like the same kind of stuff we usually do on the show. We're just going to be talking about like, what you got going on, Jay, and, how you got into all this and all that. So pretty excited to have you here, man.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. So everybody, this is "Falling Tonight" by Jay Harris.
It's getting dark outside and I need somebody to hold. Just for the night, not trying to set nothing in stone. Oh, I don't wanna complicate it, no. Just need something convenient to go. I like my space, but every now and then, baby, you can come over. Oh, you can call it whatever you want it, just nothing solid. We're here for the moment. I like my money and power, but you're the one I want for the hour. Give me all your love, but temporary. Won't be no falling tonight. Give me all your love, but temporary. Commitment is about all I don't wanna fight. Love, but temporary. Won't be no falling tonight. That's just the way emotions go. Long as you know you'll be fine. Won't be no falling tonight. Let's not play one another. Both know we don't have time to really be with each other. Let's not tell that lie. I'd like to, I'm blind you. I don't wanna cross that line. As long as we stay on this road, nobody has to be broke. You can call it whatever you want it, just nothing solid. We're here for the moment. I like my money and power, but you're the one I want for the hour. Give me all your love, but temporary. Won't be no falling tonight. Give me all your love, but temporary. Commitment is about all I don't wanna fight. Love, but temporary. Won't be no falling tonight. That's just the way emotions go. Long as you know you'll be fine. Won't be no falling tonight. Won't be no falling. Won't be no falling tonight. Don't have to be alone when you communicate what you want. Living in the here and now, you're the one I want for the hour. Give me all your love, but temporary. Won't be no falling tonight. Give me all your love, but temporary. Commitment is about all I don't wanna fight. Give me love, but temporary. Won't be no falling tonight. That's just the way emotions go. Long as you know you'll be fine. Won't be no falling tonight.
All right, everybody, that was "Falling Tonight" by Jay Harris. And no,
Yes.
you are not listening to like a music show. We are actually talking to the musician Jay Harris is with us live, live here in the studio, y'all. So, yeah, man. So tell me about that. Like, well, first of all, tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, like you said, I am Jay Harris, and you and I met a few years back. But I've been in Atlanta, upwards
for
from
like
2012. Yeah, for a minute. I moved to Atlanta originally in 2012, and then I actually did some theater, and then I did just some shows, and I actually did some performing and did a lot of writing for other artists, and in the studio creating music for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really just kind of getting my foot in the door and just kind of learning, okay, what is this world about? How does it work?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I place myself in this industry? And so after spending some time, writing for, other artists and just writing with other, Grammy Award winning writers and all of these great industry, artists, I finally decided, I want to put together a project for myself. And I was at a recording academy, which is the organization that puts together the Grammys. I was at a recording academy mixer in Atlanta at the W Hotel. And I met this guy. His name is Ryan Jumper. And at the time he still does this. He's an engineer and just doing some co-producing. And he and I met at that mixer in like 2015. And so a year or two went by, and I reached out to him. I said, hey, man, I want to create a project. And he said, hey, man, I'm looking to help you create a project.
Wow.
I'm like, well, this is perfect. This is
Wow.
perfect timing. Yeah, it was just the perfect timing. And we got in the studio. I tried a little bit, different sounds. A little louder music, softer music, harder music, and just played around with all these different sounds until I finally found a sound that I feel like is, it's unique and it's authentic to who I am,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still relevant to the industry and the market, what it's calling for. And so, I've been working on this project since September of 2017, and I'm so excited. It's going to be a 5-song EP, and then later we'll release an album. But the first single off that EP is Falling Tonight, and I'm excited about the response, that I've been getting thus far from Falling Tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible song. It's kind of crazy, but back in the day, 1997, I'm going to date myself, everybody. I'm 44. But back in 1997, I worked for this place called Peppermint Music in Statesboro.
Gotcha.
And we sold R&B, rap, gospel. It was basically a CD store, tape store and all that. And man, you've got a really good sound. I'll tell you what, it's kind of crazy because there's not like a whole lot of record stores. Like there's some stuff like out there now, but yeah, man, back in the day we'd had like a new single come out,
right.
And everybody was like, oh man, this is like this is the thing right now,
Yeah.
And,
I remember you could walk into the record store, you could actually put the headphones on and listen to a record,
Yeah, you have a really good sound. I feel like you have a nice voice. You have a really good sound with your music. Did you? So you're a writer. Did you write the lyrics, or did you co-write the lyrics, or?
Yes, sir. Well, I wrote all the lyrics alone.
Wow.
I've worked with writers before, but I wrote this song completely alone.
That says a lot,
sir.
Man. That says a lot because I know a lot of people don't understand this, but in the industry, and I'm not a pro, okay, so let me back up here for a second here, y'all. But I just kind of follow along because I love writing and stuff like that. But in the industry, there are groups, just like you were talking about, that they have professional writers who write songs and they sell songs, and then performers, sing the songs or whatever.
Yeah.
And so for you to write it and sing it, that's a nice little rare combo.
It is,
and it's really good, man. I was like, wow, because I heard it so much. I heard it for the first time today. I heard the preview the other day when you sent me the link, but I heard it for the first time today, and I was like, this. What? I was like, man, this is so good.
I love that so much. Two things, like with the writing, you're right. A lot of artists, and I'll say most artists, they do hire, different writing groups and different writers to, help them get the song together, and then they can sing it. So I'm excited. These are my stories, and even the songs that I have work with other artists, other writers on, I top line it because this is my life, this is my experience, and I want to tell it from my perspective.
Yeah.
So and so that's something that was important to me, to be able to write it. But then for you to say, how impressed you are, that every time someone tells me that when they're hearing my music for the first time, I'm so grateful, because as a creative, you want people to take you seriously.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You want them to see you're not just, it's not a pipe dream. It's not just you out here, kind of going with the wind, but this is something that I'm truly passionate about, and I've really put in the time to make it, a premium product. So
I mean, like, you can tell this, I mean, like, this is a professionally done, song. I mean, like, it literally, it sounds so good, because, it's, I don't want to knock anybody, okay? Because everybody's got their thing, right? I don't want to knock anybody. I'm not trying to put anybody down, so don't take it the wrong way, y'all, when I'm saying this. But indie artists, when you're doing something, you hear a lot of stuff, and there's, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of SoundCloud musicians out there. You know what I mean? And it's okay. I think it's okay when you're first starting off. It's like, oh, this is the equipment I've got. This is what this is what I'm doing. Right. As long as you're progressing, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, I can hear the professionalism from the work that you put in the industry, because it shows. I mean,
thank you so much.
I think that's a great point of encouragement for anybody out there who wants to do their own thing. If it's music, or if it's writing, or if it's film, whatever. Right. I mean, like, because you do acting. You're a musician.
Yes.
You're also a model. You do a lot of things, right?
Yes. And I'm glad that we're talking about this, because one of the things that I do is this mentorship program for the Berklee College of Music students. They're based out of Boston. And before COVID-19, we bring them out each year, and they get to go to all the industry-leading recording studios. They get to go to BMI. They get to go to like B103, 94.5, the big radio stations in Atlanta, and just so they can get their first feel of the industry.
Right.
But one thing I do is I try to stay in touch with them once they leave, because they graduate, and I tell them, hey, if you want, if you're thinking about releasing something, or you're thinking about sending something to a record label or a producer, I don't mind listening to it and giving you, my feedback. But I tell them this, I said, but I tell you this, I want you to succeed. So I'm going to tell you the absolute truth. And before you send anything to me to give you feedback on, to send to someone else in the industry, I'm going to tell you this: when you create your music, when you've got to a place where you're ready to release it, you should create anything that you're doing. You should create it, with the mindset of, I want to be a contender with my favorite artist.
Right.
Or I want to, I want to create a product that can sit side by side with someone that I admire in the industry. Because when you create something with that perspective, you're going to give it all you've got. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you now, these record labels, first off, they don't take unsolicited, music, but also, they're going to listen to the first maybe 30 seconds of, and if it's not hitting right out the gate.
If that, right?
Yeah, right. And if it's not hitting right out the gate, they're going to go into the next thing.
Yeah. So everybody, you're tuning in today, listening to WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. This is the Adam Messer Show. I'm your host, Adam Messer, and my special guest today is Jay Harris, who is a man of many talents and skills. So I love what you said there, because, it is so difficult to get people that to give you constructive feedback that might hurt your feelings, but they're being honest and truthful to you. I'm not talking about being cruel and mean or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, because your haters will do that all day. I'm just talking about somebody who legitimately has your best interest at heart. Because most of the people will say, "Oh, I liked it." They might not have even listened to it.
Right.
Or it was great, and they didn't read it. Or, they'll give you like that, not that they're being phony, but they just don't want to hurt your feelings, So it's so nice that you actually would do that. So you do the mentorship program. How did you get involved with that? You said it's Berklee College of Music?
Berklee College of Music. And it's interesting, again, with my business partner and the co-producer for my project, Ryan Jumper. like I said, we met each other at the Recording Academy Mixer, which is the organization that puts together the Grammys. But at the time, he was interning at a really big studio, or a really prominent studio in Atlanta. It's called Silent Sound Studios, and it's been around for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. In fact, one of the first records that was recorded at that studio was by Whitney Houston, and I think it was like one of her platinum records. And so, but he was, there's a guy by the name of Miles Walker, who is, he's engineered, he's mixed and projects for some of your favorites. And I'm talking Rihanna and Beyonce and just all these huge artists. But at the time, my co-producer was interning at that studio as his assistant. And then he started working full time with Miles at that particular studio. Since then, as of last year, the rapper T.I. actually purchased the studio, so it's no longer Silent Sound. But he was the mixing assistant to Miles Walker, who was, you know, the big engineered mixer for Rihanna and so many other big artists. And Miles actually is an alumni at Berklee College of Music.
Okay.
So that, you know, it started out as that was his way of kind of reaching back into back to his alma mater and being able to help students and kind of see like, hey, I'm a product of this school. Well, because he and Ryan were working together, and then Ryan and I started working together, Ryan would let him hear a lot of my music all the time. Every time we record something, he'd let Miles hear it. And Miles, you know, reached out to me and was like, hey man, you know, you're an awesome artist. I love the work that you're putting in. I love your penmanship and just the attention to detail that you're really taking your time with this. And I can tell that you love it. And he asked me to be a part of it. And so for the last few years or so, every year, that's something that I've been a part of. And that's how it got started, you know, through that networking and relationships.
I'm glad you said relationships, because that's one of the things that I focus on and talk about a lot is transactions and relationships. Relationships should be first, in my opinion. We're going to have transactions, you know, transactions are things like, you know, getting your song produced, you know, professionally, that kind of thing. But it would never happen without a relationship, you know, like putting relationships first.
Absolutely.
And putting that person first, you know?
Exactly. I can tell you now, people, it's so crazy because, again, it kind of all ties back together. Before I was like, oh, I'm working on a project. And then I released something. They're like, wait, you really were working on a project, you know? And now the question is, how did you do it? How are you, you know, and you're doing it independently. How did you, you know, connect with this person? How are you doing this? How are you doing that? It's all about relationships and networking. And, you know, I'm continuously putting myself in situations that, you know, that aren't always as comfortable, not so much in like ethics, but just it's like, oh man, this is a really big room full of really big people, but I insert myself in those places, and I've really been able to garner some really great relationships that have connected me to, you know, all of these industry leading professionals and places. And I'll tell you this too, your character, for me in particular, a character, and I think across the board, is a huge thing.
I agree.
And how you honor yourself and honor the relationship that you create, it also has a really big part of your it determines your longevity and people's willingness to help you.
It's just like this, you know, this is one of the things I tell my kids, and I talk, people will not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you treated them long after it, you know, they'll remember, you know. And I think that was, you know, just to kind of peek back, when I first met you, I was like, hey man, because I was doing photography, and I was like, hey man, you know, whatever. And we haven't seen each other in person, like I think since then, but we've stayed in touch online since then. And you know, like you got your projects, and I see your stuff, and like, you know, I'll say, hey, that's cool, or you'll, you know, do vice versa for me too. And I'm so glad that, you know, you let me know you got this new single out, and that we can have a chance today to talk on the radio, because, you know, we had and I'm just throwing this out there to everybody listening in, but you know, Jay and I, you know, we just instantly had a connection there. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it was like, hey, I just like your vibe, you like my vibe, and we just stayed in touch, you know, and then here we are today talking.
Yeah, literally. And I mean, like you were saying, like you said, you tell your kids that, they don't remember what you said or you did, but they remember how you made them feel and how you treated them.
You treated them.
Literally, when you and I met, it was just such an instant, connection, and the chemistry was there. And it was also, it was literally two pure creatives connecting.
Right,
and that energy was just flying everywhere. And so it made, that's why it's easy to pick up the phone right now and just, we just start talking because of how
and right, we actually, Jay and I have not talked on the phone. Like this like y'all think of this is stage, is not. It's just like this is like real life.
Right, because they're probably thinking, dang, they talk all the time. But
Yeah.
But it's just that we have that relationship that we fostered from the beginning,
Yeah. I love. I've been following your stuff, and I love what you're doing. One of the things I want to ask you, Jay, is you obviously have been putting in the work, right?
Yes.
And one of the things I love, my friend Matt and I, we do like a separate little podcast, but we talk about grit, we talk about doing the work, and we talk about why it matters. So I want to ask you about that because you kind of talked a little bit about it. But it's not easy breaking into the industry. I mean, like I'm not okay. Like let me back up, everybody. As an indie artist, and I don't care what you're doing, writing, music, film, or whatever, you can put whatever you want out there. I mean, it's available. Right. It doesn't cost anything. You gotta, you can use your smartphone. Boom, boom, boom. But to do something like at enterprise level, or let's just say like what industry standard is. Level stuff. It's not easy. It's not. And like you said, people. You hit on this earlier. I think people have like a 5 to 10 second attention span for something new that they're like yes or no. You know. Right. So. Can you talk a little bit more about getting into the work part of it?
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing you did mention, you mentioned this word enterprise, which is. And then you said basically just meaning it's industry expectation, but I'm so glad that you literally used the term enterprise, because I will share with you, and I haven't said this out loud to anyone else, but that is what's making the unique difference between me and the next indie artist. Is I have approached my induction into the industry from a business perspective. And so it's like I came into it, and I hear this all the time. I hear all these different rappers, these different singers, and they think because they're talented or because they're singing about what a lot of other artists are singing about, I'm just gonna pop off. But if you truly want to experience longevity and you want to receive the creme de la creme of service from other industry leaders, you've got to approach it from a commercial standpoint. So when I come into the room, they know not only can I set him on the stage at a huge concert or a huge festival, but if in the event that an opportunity came across where a large Fortune 500 company wanted to give him an endorsement, we know we could set him in front of those executives and not be embarrassed, and not
and not have litigation, because that's a big thing that they look at liability, and they look at like, okay, well, because any face, any voice, any whatever song, story, whatever, they can find that anywhere. I mean, like literally whatever vibe that. Like, I'll give an example. I had a friend of mine who had he was a country music star, or not. Well, let me say this again. Let me back up. He was a country musician, and he was signed by a big label in Nashville. Right. They put him on the shelf for 5 years because he sounded like someone else that they were pushing. So that happens a lot in the industry too, where if you got a similar sound, similar look, similar vibe, you can get snapped up by a label, and then because you're under contract, your stuff goes nowhere.
Exactly. You're just sitting there for a while, but and like I was saying, so you just want to come in at thinking, number one, you want to foster those relationships, but also just come into it with a mindset of, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I want the big break, that's what we're striving for, but I'm not just striking away at my big break. I want them to see not why I need them, but why they need me on their team. And that's how I came into
I love that
particular perspective. Yeah.
I love that mindset, because people don't see the they see the end result, but they don't see the 10,000 days of work before that.
Yes, sir.
You know, they don't see the. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, when you talk about grit, you mentioned earlier, when you talk about grit and you talk about why you do it and how hard it can be, you know, it's been I initially kind of stepped into the entertainment industry back in 2012, and then I met my co-producer in 2015. I'd done some work in between 2012 and 2015, theater, did some traveling with that, and then he and I started working on this project in 2017, and now it's coming, you know, to life here in 2020. Within those different, you know, interims of time, it has been, you know, because I did come into this project actually with a label that I had worked with, you know, a lot as you know, just with writing and some other music things. However, when I realized that I wouldn't be able to necessarily put the project out, you know, in a way that it was authentic to me, I decided still have that relationship intact, but I just decided for this particular project that it wouldn't be the best fit for me. But and that sounds, you know, nice and like, oh, I just, you know, simply cut my ties.
That's a hard decision. When you get a label and you say, oh, I'm going to go indie, that's like, man, you know, you just took the parachute out.
Exactly. That's a very hard thing to do. And, you know, and with that, you know, so taking the ranks on my own, you know, it has its days where things don't always fall through the way that you expected them to or you wanted them to. You've got a lot of people that do sell you pipe dreams in terms of lending you assistance.
Oh, Jay. I've got a phrase for that, dude. Like, I call it shovels and jeans. Because like the California gold rush, the folks that made the money, that got rich, were not the miners. It was the folks selling them the shovels and jeans.
Exactly. That is so true.
And that's like any industry, like anything, like, you know, if they see you're talented and you got a dream and they're like, oh, I can help you if you got $9.95, you know. Exactly. And I'm not talking about dollars. I'm talking about like $995.
Right. They're trying to take that money from you and just, you know, and people will try to manipulate you for money and try to use opportunity to manipulate you to do whatever it is they want, you know, where they gain from it. And so you know, but my thing is, I always say this, that I've been committed to purpose. I've been committed to, you know, this music and creating it. And one thing that kind of helps me steer clear of those types of things now is, now I know how to just, you know, just as a person and as a professional, I know how to vet out, you know, what,
you're like, nah, this is, you know, it's just not a good fit, like you said, or whatever. And I like that, because, you know, discernment is important, you know, especially, and I think that's a big, I'm glad that you do the mentorship, because you can also help younger people to be able to see that same thing and say, hey, wait a minute, you know, like, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. It probably is. And speaking of mentorship, you know, I'm working with my co-producer now, because I want to make that mentorship available to the public, not just exclusively to Berklee College of Music. Nice.
So I'm working on that, and I'll definitely make sure to get, once that launches out, you know, give you that information.
Oh, I'd love to share it.
And figure out how to be a part of it, because like we're just saying, I don't want to take your money. I want to help you reach your goals, and so we found a unique way to kind of to do that without you breaking the bank or you know, steady pouring out, and nobody's pouring into you. So it's important, that mentorship.
Oh, I'm all about like daily learning and investing in yourself. I definitely think that's a big part of anything that you want to do. Jay, we've got to do our station announcements. So we're going to be back in just a few minutes, everybody. You're tuning in today and listening to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. This is the Adam Messer Show, and I'm your host, Adam Messer. And my special guest today is musician, artist, actor, model, what else? Writer, producer, like man of many talents and skills, Jay Harris. So I'm glad to have you here today, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Many critical issues are facing the residents of Savannah and all Americans, including the coronavirus, homeschooling, and the upcoming general election. WRUU has 3 programs which address these issues: The Common Good on Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m., The Happy Homeschooler on Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m., and We the People, The Constitution Today on Sundays from 8 to 9 p.m. Stay informed about these important issues by tuning into these programs on WRUU.
WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul.
This portion of WRUU-LP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by listeners like you and Brighter Day Natural Foods. Brighter Day is celebrating its 40th year serving the Savannah community with produce, vitamins, and supplements, and a deli and juice bar. Brighter Day is located at 1102 Bull Street at the south end of Forsyth Park. More information available at 912-236-4703 or brighterdayfoods.com.
WRUU 107.5 FM is a new and different listener-supported and all-volunteer community radio station for Savannah. Our diverse broadcast and web programming is supported by generous listeners who value our passion and spunk. We are independent of other media and receive no government or large corporate support. People like you are our largest and most important source of our funding. Go to WRUU.org to find out how you can make a one-time or a monthly contribution. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we are back. And Jay, so, I really love the fact that you have been, putting in the work.
Yes, sir.
So the grit part, going back to the grit and resiliency, because Matt LaStalia, he's been a guest on my show a bunch of times, and I've been on his show, and we do like a little side podcast. It's called the Matt and Adam Show, and this is what we talk about. So I want to ask you, because doing industry work, and when I say industry work, I mean like if you're trying to do something commercial level, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're doing industry work, it's you're in the industry, right? So you started off like you said in 2012, right?
That is right.
Okay, when you first started off, thinking back, that's almost 9 years ago now,
right?
But, thinking back, what did you see then that you know now that you were like, not that you would change anything, because obviously you grew as you came along, doing stuff, but what is something like, because the world's changed a lot since 2012, right?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
So what would you see, focus on, or say to somebody new to the industry that they can focus on to help them leverage up from where you spent 9 years grinding,
Yeah. Yes. So that's a good question. And one of the things that, right off for me, like we were just talking about, is, and I understand that when you're starting out, you may not have all the tools, all the resources. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do say, you want to work to put out the very best product that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because I certainly, when I would submit music, back in 2012, without any connections, I was just like, trying to see. There were certain things I'm like, I could have done that better, but in the grand scheme, it's okay, it'll work. And of course, it didn't get picked up. So one thing I would say is, if I would have really tried to perfect my craft a bit more before I started to try to release it and send it to people expecting them to release it. And that doesn't mean that you have to just, stay, in the garage until you forever until it's ready. No, that might mean that you need to find other resources or outlets. I mean, you can take classes in a particular area that you're interested in, or, whatever your craft is. Take time to nurture. You can reach out to other people or other services. So it doesn't mean you just have to just wait until, forever, but no, be active. I would have, right out the gate, I would have been actively trying to refine my talent. It was through, trying to, throwing something against the wall, the whole thing, it sticks, that I realized, I need to take a beat and refine my skill, my talent, my knowledge about the industry that I'm trying to break into. And then approach the project again, continue to approach the project, but with a new perspective to refine it and perfect it. So that's one thing, and for sure that I would do, is I would have spent more time from the very beginning nurturing my talent, which now today, there are so many programs, and there were back then, but it wasn't as,
prolific,
right as today. And so that's one thing I would do. And then secondly, I started to lean. In the beginning, I wasn't leaning into the process. So the very first submission I made that didn't make me a star, I was like, oh, I'm so defeated and all these things. But you really do have to lean into the process and know that as long as you are giving it all that you have, every avenue, the wins and the areas of opportunity are all elements, a part of your journey that are going to ultimately serve you when you do finally reach the place that you want to be in. So if I wish I would have had that, that thought process from the beginning, but I am grateful to have learned it along my journey, which is why it's two of the things that I do hit on with the mentorship program, and it kind of saves them some steps and some anxiety, if you will.
Yeah. And you're a legit singer. I mean, like, you're not a Pro Tools, augmented singer. You're an actual singer.
Yes,
Which
sir. Yes,
folks,
sir.
a lot of stuff we hear today is so edited.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really nice to hear someone who can actually sing, and it's kind of weird because, not weird, but, I mean, back in the day, that was what resonated with me so much, growing up, like listening to different music, the voice, a human voice.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, the digital singers it reminds me a lot of CGI for movies.
Yeah, I got you.
And I'm not knocking anybody because there's a lot of pop stuff out there or whatever where people are like, oh, whatever, it's a catchy tune or it's a certain style or look or whatever. I get it. It's it's all the move product. I get that, but it's just really refreshing. When you hear an artist who actually can sing, and then the fact that it's almost like a triple threat, man. You can sing, you can write, and produce, and all that stuff. Like,
so it's,
remember like Bo Jackson, Bo knows baseball, football, all that. Neon Dion. I mean, like you're like that guy of music.
Well, thank you, man. And you're right. It's and again, when you have work hard to refine your talent, and you do pair that with that hard work, that consistency and being persistent, that's when you enter that field of, okay, I want opportunity, but at this point, I know what I bring. So at this point, I'm an asset to someone's team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you actually got something to back up. Just besides connections or a name or whatever. You've got And I've got I have a friend. His name is Benny White, and he is he's a rap artist, and man, he's the same way. He's super talented, man. He does his own stuff. Like, he writes, he produces.
Nice.
And I tell you what, like when you go on, I guess Instagram's got the new reels with like TikTok and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Dude's got like 15 pages of music. I mean, and he's been he's an indie artist, but I'm always so taken aback by people who can do it, and they actually can sing, or they can rap, or and the writers, and they're doing all the other parts that are behind the scenes that people don't really think about, because all they see is like the face and they hear the voice, but they don't think about like, oh wow, this is a little bit deeper than just somebody else wrote these lyrics, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with like somebody singing a beautiful song or whatever, but it just adds another layer to it for me. That I'm like, oh wow, you wrote that and you produced it and you did. It's like, dude,
it's crazy because in today's time, back in the day, they would say, oh, you've got potential. We can work with that. Today, they want you to come with your own following. They want you to come to college. They want you to come looking a certain kind of way. Like they're basically just seeing how can we capitalize off of what you already have.
I am so glad you said that, because I talk to authors all the time about that. Because it's the same thing with books. The entertainment industry is entertainment, right? But it's the same thing with books. They look at people. A good story is a good story. Okay, that's always going to rise to the top. A good song is going to rise to the top. But they look at the author's following. They look at how many books they think that person can sell. Just like with music, they're going to be looking at like, well, how many downloads can we get?
That's so true.
because they don't really make money off of the downloads as much as they make it off of merch and other stuff, you know?
Exactly.
And so they're looking at a total package of like, okay, well, do they have the look? Do they have the sound? You know, if they don't have the sound, we can fix that. If they don't have the look, we can fix that. You know, it's like they're just looking for the next face of whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's so true.
That's the same with the authors. I mean, like, you know, big publishing houses are publishing books for people and not giving them any advance or anything like that, and no marketing money. You know, and indies, same thing. You know, like an indie who publishes, they're pretty much, you know, it goes back to like, how much did you put into it? You know, how polished is it? You know, did you did you grow from your last project? Did you get better? You know, and so I always think it's, I mean, especially when you get somebody who's working and doing it, you know, day in and day out. You know, it's very impressive.
Yeah, you know, I've worked with, and when I say investors, I'm not just talking about, you know, someone says, hey, let me donate something to your cause. And and while that is appreciative,
yes, it is.
Listen, all help is wonderful. But
we love all of our supporters.
That's right. When I get in those boardrooms with you know, with investors who are, you know, looking or seeing why your product or your business plan, because I approach it as a business, and they're trying to see why your business plan is the business plan to invest in. They want to be
why you should be the next person that they put their money on.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I've heard more investors, more than one investor say this. There are from two completely different companies or entities. They always say, you know, I'm not looking to invest in someone who has not invested in themselves.
Right.
And so, you know, and that reigns very true, you know, with me. And I try to tell, you know, other artists and any, you know, entrepreneurs or whatever it is that you're trying to do, is that people want to see that you've put in the work yourself as well.
Well, you know, I love that you hit on that, because that is a great topic, Jay. Nobody's gonna, you know, bankroll your baby. I mean, like, you know, true. I love the crowdfunding stuff out there that people do. I love, you know, I love my supporters and all that. But here's the thing, like, that I see, and like, I bring up crowdfunding because that's what it seems like to me. Like, when you get, you know, when folks are out there trying to say, okay, well, I'm going to sell this song, or I'm going to sell this book, or I'm going to sell whatever. Like, first of all, and when I say you, I don't mean you personally, Jay. I'm talking about like in general. First of all, you're going to love your stuff more than anybody else is ever, period.
Yeah.
And,
that's so true.
You know, if someone else that you don't know and you're not connected to and whatever, if you can't sell it to a stranger, you don't really have a product.
That's so true.
You know, because you can sell it to your family, you can sell it to your friends, you know, you can sell it to yourself. But when it comes down to like someone who has no connection with you and knows nothing about you, and they're just going strictly off the product's merit, you know, if you can't do that, if you can't present that, you know, or whatever. And I think people, it's like, man, I think it's so funny because it's like this. People see the, you know, tremendous success stories. You know,
right.
They see the folks that are like, oh man, they blew up and they're you know, trillionaire or whatever.
Right.
You know, they see that. They don't see like the working class artists as like a legit goal. Like, they don't see it as like, okay, well, you know, because I mean, honestly, I would love to be a national best-selling author, international best-selling author. I would love to, you know, be at that status. I'm not there.
Right.
You know, I'm sure that you would love to be an international best-selling musician. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like, I'm not going to lie and say, oh, yeah. I'm not going to say, oh, no, I don't want to do that. That'd be a lie. You know, but the fact that, you know, there's so many different layers of that. And to hear that, you know, you're saying an investor is like, hey, you know what? About that. Let's talk about, you know, the money side of it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love that because that is the truth of everything. I'm like, you know, if somebody's out there and they're like, oh, I'm a musician, and you're living at home and your parents are bankrolling your career.
Right.
You know, it's a lot different than, you know, somebody out there, I don't know, that's doing the grind. You know, clout chasers versus, you know, someone who's like, you know, putting their neck down and their head down and doing the grind day and day after.
Yes.
You know, dude, I saw Let me do
I'm
a
so
station
glad.
announcement real quick. I'm getting too excited about this. I'm like, oh my gosh.
No, this is good.
Yeah, everybody, you listen to WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. So, like, clout chasers, man. Like, so this is, I'm glad that you talked about, like, the investors. They're like, okay, this is what we're looking for. Because there's so many clout chasers out there because of social media.
Yes.
People fronting, saying, oh, I got this Benz, or I got, this Ferrari, or whatever. It's not even theirs. Not even theirs. They didn't even rent it. They just like saw it in a parking lot somewhere, and they're like, "Oh,"
and took a photo in front of it.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude,
literally,
or not to knock them again, but the Pro Tool musicians, like they're, they've got they've never done a singing lesson in their life type person,
right?
And they think, oh, I've got, it's like, dude, you don't even have a good hook. How are you gonna?
It is such a slap in the face. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, because this is two creatives talking.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you that sometimes it feels like such a slap in the face when you the time and all the hard work that you put into something. And for me, it's music. And then I get someone that says, I think I'm gonna release something this week, and they just
I've got an idea today, and I'm gonna put it out tomorrow.
Right, I'm like, what?
Like, what? Did you have any pride in your work?
Right, how insulting it is to someone who works so hard at it. And you're right, it's a lot of clout chasers that try to present something that is not, that's not real, and that's not who they are. And it's interesting, we were talking about, when you're trying to selling to a stranger. Well, one of the things in the mentorship program that I would do with the Berkeley students is I'm gonna talk about branding and creating your personal brand.
Yeah.
And branding, it's really, branding is pretty much creating the marketing material and the just putting together the narrative and the story to sell yourself.
I love that you said your story, because that is, I mean, my show is called The Adam Messer Show, and I had the same conversation with my friend a couple weeks ago. About why, but if you think about it, like the Oprah Winfrey Show, the Johnny Carson Show, any of these like big name, folks, you don't, Michael Jordan by his name. Some people don't even know who he played for. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's so true. And it's all about creating a narrative that is true to who you are, but it's creating that story, creating that narrative. And in that branding segment that I teach on, I talk about how who you present yourself to be on social media. I hope you're that person when people see you
in
outside of social media, because it will certainly affect what you call your personal brand. And like you said, you've got to be able to sell it both on and offline. So
when people say being authentic and being genuine, I think that gets overplayed a lot for the true meaning of it. But it's just like being sincere to yourself. Like I'm Adam here with you talking on the radio, as I am at work, as I am with my friends. I'm not a different person, but a lot of people put on that face and
that facade.
Yeah, and I think what happens is, and I'm not knocking any younger folks here, I'm just saying as a caveat here, as a warning, that social media is like, it's the most overrated selling tool ever created. We get sold to every single day on social media. And it's a blessing and it's a curse, but it's if you're a kid coming up, just keep in mind, like, a lot of the stuff that you see it's not real. It's like,
and no, you're right with that. Like, and that's, again, like, social media, don't get me wrong, it's a great platform, a great tool. I mean, it's basically the number one source for promote, especially
it is. It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, I love it, and there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh,
it's just like, give me a break, because this is real. Okay. No, I get it.
But going back to the branding, the reason why I'm bringing that out is branding, because social media is branding for everybody now. It's like, that's how people reach, folks. That's why they sell, advertising. That's why they control, like, the feed and, who you see and what you see and that kind of thing. And, but being authentic, when, like, for instance, talking with you today is, you've grown a lot, but you haven't, changed as a person from the first time I met you.
Right.
And I don't think either one of us would have connected with each other if we felt like it was a fake, like, oh yeah, what's this guy trying to,
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. That is so true. I feel like, you being specific, because there are tons of authors, there are tons of singers and rappers and
actors,
and tons of
filmmakers, anything
they're all out there, right? But you being who you are, organically is what sets you apart. People say, what do you feel like sets you apart? Well, I'm completely myself.
Right.
And I know for a fact that no one can be me. But
there's only one Jay Harris. There's only one Adam Messer. It's like...
Exactly. Exactly. So it's really, it's actually the key ingredient to the very foundation of your career if you intend on being successful.
I love that you say that too, because with, for example, a song, we know that there's like a certain, I don't want to say formula, but there's a certain thing that we expect, as consumers, as listeners or whatever. Same thing with any kind of story that you watch on TV, film, you read a book.
Right.
Same thing with because a song is a story, It's the same thing. We expect those same things. So when we're using that formula, for lack of a better word, we're not being insincere. What we're doing is we're trying to figure out, like, okay, well, how can we tell this story in a new, different fashion?
Exactly.
And through, I'm telling this story through my eyes,
right?
And how I see the world. Honestly, when I heard your song, I was like, man, this guy's got a good hook, and then you got a good story, and it actually is a complete story through the whole song, which is something I love and I kind of miss, because a lot of music doesn't do that now. A lot of it's just like a repeat of a hook, or like the lyrics are like just another form of the hook.
Yeah.
So when you came across that, and you decided, like you said, you kind of felt things out to see what was genuine for you. How did you come across to decide, because we've got a few minutes before the station break, but how did you come across to decide that was your style, and that was yes, this is who I want to show people the world of, of Jay Harris?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'll tell you this, that when I was doing that trial and error for different types of music and just how it should be performed, so to speak, one thing that was constant is I was always telling the story. I was always telling my story from my unique perspective. And so, and one thing I found for the sounds that I realized that I just didn't think were my sound, it's because I felt like, although my storytelling was sincere, it was true, it's what I wanted to say, but the performance, and when I'm talking about the music or the style, I felt like it didn't complement what I was trying to convey.
Okay.
And so when I finally struck a song that literally felt good to me, like, this is exactly what I want to say, this is exactly how I want to say it, and it still meets, marketable, requirements, so to speak, that I felt good about it. Don't get me wrong, do your research, put in your hard work.
Yeah.
But your intuition is there for a reason. And sometimes it falls back on a feeling. I've done the groundwork, and so now I'm going to apply everything I've researched, I've learned, I've refined. And now that when you put it out there, your intuition will let you know, okay, that's it. That's it. That's why you've been working so hard.
Wow.
All that training, this is it. And that's how I knew it, just honest.
I love that, because that is so true in life. I mean, it's like when people say, "Well, how did you fall in love?" Like, I don't know. I just felt I felt it. It's like it happened. It's not like I could say, okay, these are step 1 through 10.
Right.
Even though you're doing like the work,
it
just, when you feel it, and then you should trust yourself like that.
Exactly. All of the hard work that you put in, that's the ground rules to navigate you to the right space. When you're raising your kids, they're not gonna, do everything that you said. But
definitely not.
What you're instilling in them, in their youth, is literally just giving them the tools that they need to navigate their adult lives. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
they do what you show them. They don't do what you tell them.
Right. Exactly. So the hard work, and it's just literally the resources and the tools to get you to where your intuition will tell you which one is the right one, for whatever it is that you're doing.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this first hour. Jay, where can people check out Falling Tonight?
Absolutely. You can find Falling Tonight on all digital platforms, iTunes, Amazon Music, anywhere there is a digital space online, as well as on my social media page, my Instagram, and that is official Jay Harris, Harris.
Awesome. All right, everybody tuning in, thank you for listening. We'll be back at 4. And my special guest today has been Jay Harris, and then come back at 4 because we've got a second hour, and we're going to play Falling Tonight again in the next hour.
UU.org. We are Savannah Soundings.